Welcome to the deep dive. You're here because you want to get smart, fast, right, without getting totally buried in information. We get it.
We definitely do.
So today we're doing something a bit different. We're looking at, well, two pretty distinct worlds. There is this intimate encounter with a blind musician in Venice. And then there's the really complex, maybe enigmatic work of American artist Bob Camblin.
Yeah.
We want to see what connections pop up.
Yeah, it sounds like a strange pairing at first glance, maybe.
Yeah.
But the sources are great. We've got this YouTube transcript, really vivid, about the accordionist.
Right.
And then a whole collection on Camblin quotes, bits of biography, reviews. It pulls together a fascinating picture.
So our mission, if you will, isn't just telling two stories side by side. It's about finding the thread between them. What can a blind musician and a visual artist possibly tell us together?
Quite a lot, actually. We think exploring them helps shed light on how we see things, how we perceive reality.
And what art can be, maybe. How we find meaning.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack it. Venice first.
Let's start there. The transcript really puts you right on that narrow street. You can almost hear the city sounds, the accordion. Even mentions a balloon vendor nearby.
Yeah, it's very atmospheric.
It is. And the musician, he's blind, playing his accordion, has a little table with trinkets. It feels like he belongs there, a permanent part of the scene.
And that sign mentioned, my blind accordionist is a different one, but still in the same place.
It's intriguing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Makes you wonder about who came before.
it does, like a legacy. But this guy, he's clearly made that corner his own. It speaks to how people find their space, become part of a place's fabric.
Then there's Kara, this young woman in the story. She's drawn in by his music, described as a gentle, soulful melody.
Yeah, the transcript says she's mesmerized, notices his quiet dignity, his soft, faraway smile. She sees wisdom there. It's really through her eyes we start to feel the moment.
And that conversation they have, it's brief, but wow, it's deep. She asks if he gets tired of just being in that one spot. And his reply, raspy voice, apparently, I see all I need to see without my eyes.
Yeah.
Just stops you in your tracks.
Oh, totally. What does seeing even mean, right? It throws the whole concept up in the air.
Exactly. And then he backs it up with that Helen Keller quote. Something like, the only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision.
Right. So he's drawing this distinction between physical sight and, like, a deeper understanding, a vision through his music.
Precisely. It's a different way of perceiving the world, maybe even more profound in some ways.
And Kara connects this to Plato's cave. That's heady stuff for a street encounter.
It is. She wonders if maybe he, in his physical darkness, is actually seeing a clearer truth, a deeper light than people caught up in everyday shadows. It's a really powerful image.
And then there's the mention of Socrates, know thyself. Kara senses his contentment, his peace with just being there, implies this deep self-awareness.
Yeah, an acceptance of his reality that seems quite remarkable.
But he's not totally lost in thought either. The transcript notes he's aware of tourists dropping coins, keeps playing without missing a note. Grounded.
Very grounded. It's that blend. And then he quotes Marcus Aurelius, or at least it's attributed to him.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. He says his music reflects what's inside him. If he let bitterness in, the music would sour. So he chooses hope.
Wow. So his art, his music, is a direct output of his inner state, a conscious choice.
Exactly. And the description around that moment,
Mm-hmm.
sacred hush, watery reflections on his face. Carl links it to Buddhist ideas of impermanence.
Yeah.
Like the city itself is listening.
Beautiful. And she asks him again, how does he find fulfillment just staying put?
He pauses, apparently, then brings out Confucius.
Yeah.
Wherever you go with all your heart. He stays because each day brings new ripples, footsteps, wind. He senses people's hearts even if you can't see faces, and that's enough.
That's quite something. It really flips the script on needing constant change or travel for fulfillment.
It really does. And Kara has this emotional reaction, realizes she's been rushing, missing the city spirit, while this man, unmoving and blind, seems to perceive so much more.
That resonates, that feeling of chasing something and maybe missing what's right here.
So she leaves him a note, thanks him for the lesson. And as she walks away, the melody stays with her, but now she's noticing the light, the water, the sounds differently.
So the encounter actually changed her perception.
It seems so. A real shift.
So the takeaway from Venice, fulfillment isn't about constantly moving or having perfect sight. It's about being present, finding the value, the music, right where you are, with an open heart.
Well put. It's about embracing the notes of life.
Okay, so How does this connect to Bob Camblin, this artist? It feels like a jump.
It does initially, but think about that core idea, perception, seeing beyond the surface. The accordionist found vision without sight. Camblin, through his art, seems to push viewers to question their sight, their reality.
Ah, okay. I see the bridge. So tell us about Camblin. The sources call him widely recognized yet enigmatic.
Yeah, and iconoclastic,
Right.
which basically means he intentionally broke rules, challenged artistic traditions. Peers respected him, collectors sought his work. Apparently, it's quite rare and pricey now. Adds to the mystery.
And his background.
Born 1928, Oklahoma, studied at Kansas City Art Institute, got a Fulbright to Italy, so classically trained in a sense.
Right.
Taught for years at different places. Then in 1976 makes this radical decision, quits academia, becomes a nomadic artist.
Whoa. That's a major shift.
Huge. And the sources we have focus quite a bit on his earlier stuff, drawings and writings from like 1950 to 74, things he apparently never meant for public display.
So like a private window into his thoughts.
Exactly, unfiltered Camblin. And this is where that connection to the musician feels strong. His art is described as transcending normal art criticism, bypassing the commercial side.
Speaking directly to the viewer, like the accordionist's music.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
Aiming for the soul, prompting thought without needing some critic to explain it all. A direct experience.
Got it. And critics did notice him, though.
Oh, for sure. Charlotte Moser mentioned his move to organic forms. Eleanor Freed wrote about his fascination with life cycles, change, metamorphosis in these cryptic, detailed drawings.
Cryptic, so not straightforward.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
And Texas Overview pointed out his mix of drawing and watercolor, creating these illusionistic and multi-layered works. Lots going on beneath the surface.
And his style changed over time.
Yeah, started with abstract impressionism, then he pioneered this thing called mouches volantes.
Which is?
Literally flying flies. It's about using dots and dashes to create optical illusions, playing with how our eyes actually work, how we perceive things.
Huh. Interesting. Playing with perception directly.
Exactly. And he did collaborative events, too, pushing the boundaries of what art even is. And that signing is an anonymous thing.
Yeah, tell me more about that.
Seems tied to getting his ego out of the way, focusing attention purely on the artwork and the viewer's response, not on Bob Camblin, the famous artist.
That resonates with the accordionist's quiet presence in a way, letting the expression speak for itself.
I think so. Then there's this book mentioned, Zen and the Art of Enlightenment, featuring his drawings and writings.
And Zen. That fits the perception theme.
Right. The book explicitly aims to guide people toward enlightenment, using his art and words, trying to shake up our normal ways of seeing.
And the drawings themselves.
Described as strange, humorous, unsettling, like commands.
Commands, those Zen riddles, right? Meant to stop your logical brain.
Exactly, like paradoxes you have to sit with.
Yeah.
So just like the musician's unexpected wisdom made Kara pause and rethink, Camblin's art is meant to jolt us, disrupt our usual thought patterns.
So it's not just about looking at the art, it's about what the art does to your thinking.
Precisely. It aims to foster this everyday enlightenment, seeing beauty in weird places, humor and decay, accepting that life and death, hope and despair, they all exist together.
That sounds a lot like the accordionist finding richness in his simple corner, accepting the whole picture.
Yes, exactly that sentiment. And the reviews quoted really hammer this home. One asks, what is art but a series of questions disguised as images? It's not about answers.
Right, it's about the questioning.
And his drawings are called paradoxes made visible, like a trap that does not trap, a structure that stands but does not move. They're described as blueprints for ideas, asking you to get closer, think harder.
So they're intentionally ambiguous, designed to make you work.
Seems like it. Not giving you an easy meaning. The book offers riddles disguised as structures, Zen coins disguised as blueprints. That mix again, concrete and abstract.
And there's a connection made to art history.
Yeah, the foreword talks about art moving from realism, trying to copy the world, to abstract expressionism, focusing on inner feelings. It links that evolution to Zen ideas about intuition and change. Camblin fits right in there.
So his art becomes a tool, a portal to heightened awareness.
That's the idea. It demands an active, contemplative process, almost like a spiritual practice, not just passive viewing.
And the theme of change comes up again.
Definitely. His work suggests nothing is static, encouraging acceptance of change, which echoes that impermanence idea connected to the musician.
It's like both are pointing to the fluidity of reality in totally different ways.
I think that's a great way to put it. Camblin's fusion of art, philosophy, literature, It's all meant to spark intuitive understanding, make you the active meaning maker.
You have to participate. It's not just handed to you.
Right. It challenges how you normally see things, invites you to try a different perspective. The illustrations are koans, disrupting and potentially clarifying.
Fostering that everyday enlightenment again, finding the profound in the ordinary, or maybe the absurd.
Exactly, and embracing impermanence. Ultimately, the book is described as a mirror reflecting your own mind. It asks you to resist jumping to conclusions, to sit with it, find your own deeper meaning.
Wow, that's asking a lot from art and from the viewer.
It's demanding. Now, we also have quotes about Camblin from people who knew him or studied his work.
Oh, good. What did they say?
Pete Gershon called him a mystical trickster figure ripe for rediscovery. That captures the enigmatic side.
Mystical trickster. I like that.
George O. Jackson Jr. said looking at his art was like reading a book, and that Camblin himself was like a distillation of art, always pushing for purity of expression.
And Earl Staley. He collaborated with Camblin, right?
He did. Staley said he learned drawing and composition from Camblin through working together. And interestingly, he said Camblin questioned everything and everybody. Led to lots of discussion, arguments, but also laughter.
Paints a picture of a really dynamic, challenging person to be around.
It does. Penny Serling also mentioned his love for collaborating and the energy that created. And Carolyn Farb saw his autobiographical pieces as reflecting the sheer joy Camblin had making art. Adds a personal touch.
It helps round him out beyond the enigma label. What about specific works or ideas? Any examples jump out?
Well, his early work often tackled social protest. He was trying to mix realism with non-objective art to show the inner subjective world.
So engaging with social issues, but in his own abstract way.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And Italy was clearly huge for him, the Uffizi Gallery, but also the Capuchin catacombs in Rome. Those places definitely influenced his vision.
Makes sense. Beauty and mortality, side by side.
Exactly. And his technique. Large drawings with corrections left in them visible, like his version of The Descent from the Cross. He wanted to combine the poetry of someone like Hugo van der Goes with the raw emotion of Goya. High ambitions.
Trying to synthesize art history?
Very much so. And in the 70s, that theme of metamorphosis got really strong, using symbols like puppets, scarecrows, skulls, murky water, drawing on Freud, de Chirico, Grunewald, very layered references.
And the words in his art.
Sometimes disguises, sometimes clues, not just simple labels. He wanted you, the viewer, to explore, like solving a puzzle that ultimately tells you something about yourself. His works often had traps for the unwary viewer.
Traps? How so?
Maybe misleading clues, or things that look simple but aren't. Challenging popular ideas of reality. He apparently wanted to remake Goya in 20th century terms, like Cézanne remade Poussin, reinterpreting the masters for his time.
That's bold.
Very. He used jars of water in paintings to symbolize turning problems, stumbling blocks, into stepping stones. His scarecrows, inspired by the writer Gunter Grass, were about renewal. Lots of symbolism.
So you really have to decode his language.
To some extent. Later, his drawings and watercolors became even more intertwined, hinting at strategies or meanings beyond definite perception. Someone suggested hidden images might only reveal themselves after decades of looking.
Decades, wow. Talk about long-term engagement.
Right, it ties back to that Zen idea of seeing it's a process, not instant. His collaborations, like the Tattoo Show with Staley and Joe Tate under the name B&E Productions, his nomadic life later on, even dressing up as Mr. Peanut sometimes.
Mr. Peanut, seriously.
Apparently. It all adds to this picture of someone constantly playing with identity, perception, and the boundaries of art. Unconventional to the core.
Okay, so pulling it all back together. The blind accordionist in Venice. Bob Camblin, the nomadic artist.
Yeah, the parallels are pretty striking when you lay them out. Both, in vastly different ways, are pushing us to look past the surface, aren't they?
Definitely. The musician finds this incredibly rich inner vision precisely because he lacks physical sight. He connects deeply through sound and feeling.
While Camblin uses the visual, uses complexity and ambiguity in his art to make us question our own sight, our assumptions about reality. He forces us to engage, to contemplate, to find meaning actively, not passively.
So it's not about easy answers from either of them. It's about a deeper way of perceiving, whether through sound or challenging visuals.
Exactly. And hopefully for everyone listening, this deep dive provides, maybe a shortcut to grappling with these big ideas about art, perception, meaning, maybe some aha moments.
A fresh perspective, maybe, on everyday experiences, too.
That's the goal. A reminder that insight can pop up anywhere, from a street corner musician to a complex drawing.
Absolutely. So maybe the final thought to leave people with is this. consider your own vision. Both the literal seeing and the metaphorical kind. How does it shape how you understand everything around you?
Yeah. Are there maybe notes of life, like the accordionist found, that you might be missing in the daily rush and that frantic search for meaning?
And how could engaging with something challenging, maybe art like Camblin's, or even just a moment of pause like Kara had, encourage a more thoughtful, more insightful way of, well, seeing?
Something to chew on.
Definitely. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.